Ready to roll, Jim? Ready to
Good to
roll.
go.
Welcome to ReneMarie Stoke of Luck. I'm ReneMarie. And of course, Judy has created a wonderful show today. Linda, a crisis planner who has written so many empowering and informational books that we cannot wait to talk to her. What caught me about Linda when I was reading her bio that Judy had created for the show today was her dad played an instrumental role in teaching her about life and teaching her the important things in life. And that really ties into the show today because, of course, everybody knows that my dad played an instrumental role in my life and Judy as well. So I can't wait to touch on that. When I was when I was titling the article that Judy had written for press, I had to write that. What did I put it? I titled it Dad's Loving Influence because to me, everything else is important, but our family and the influences we've had in our lives really plays a major role in who we become and how we navigate through life. I never forget, I think somebody wrote a book like you have to have the hard conversations and you got to do it gently and lovingly. So I can't wait to talk to Linda. But before we get to Linda, I want to, can Jim pop some photos on the screen? Um, we have our talent show is right around the corner. It's coming up on this coming Thursday at the YMCA. It's a 450 theater seats. We're having a networking event from 6 to 7 before. Jim and I were just talking about live streaming it before when the Zoom green room. It's going to be phenomenal. Jim, did you put up the photo? Which photo's up? The photo of
The one with all the pictures on the left side, on the left
one with
hand
all the
side.
pictures on the left side. So that's everybody we have in the show. The mayor of Wayne is coming to be a part of it. He's going to open it up. Diane Bromberg has really been an empowering force in my New Jersey connections in really helping us to make this happen. She has been very dynamic, and I got to give her kudos and such thanks. She runs the senior resource group in New Jersey. She is all about teaching and educating, and she does it in such a loving fashion. So I'm so grateful to Diane to be working with her. And she's already got her mind going. She's a lot like Judy. That her mind is already going for what's to come. She sent me like this. What's it called? This. How do you get forget how to get money from when the government, I forget what's grants. She just sent me like this thing on grants, and she's thinking about next year. So thank you, Diane. We're blessed to have you working in our New Jersey branch, and Judy is our Long Island branch, and she does a wonderful job on the Stroke of Luck show. And we're going to gear up to really start to push the telethon, which Judy is involved with, and Ginny is involved with, and Catherine's involved with. So we got a lot of exciting stuff going on for the foundation. So we're blessed. We're blessed. Jim, could you open up the screen to everybody just before I have Judy start to share the press for Linda? And we can't wait to talk to her about, how she became a crisis planner and her dad's influence on her and her books. And one of her books is called Shit Happens. Shit, and that's not me swearing. It's me just saying the title of the show. I just want everybody to know that. Judy said to me when she was considering, booking Linda, because, that's her book now. She goes, I know you don't like to sit, you don't like, to use the words like that. I said, it's not really, we're using it. It's just a title. And I spoke to Linda before about why she titled the book that, and she was point right on about you got to catch people's attention, and that really catches people's attention. So Linda, thank you for joining us today, and Judy, take it away and read the press so that everybody could have a little insight to Linda's wonderful work she's doing. And I love your background, Linda.
I do too. The The ReneMarie Stroke of Luck show, together with Village Connection Network, Rockstar Studios, features our special guest, Linda Fostek, author of Shit Happens, and Now What? The Crisis Planner, Home Operations Manual, a 5-book planning series, Passport, Password Passport, Love-Hate Networking, and a series of children's books, The Science Labs. Linda holds a BA from SUNY Potsdam. She is active in CERT, Community Emergency Response Team, Long Island NAICP, National Aging in Place Council, Pulse, Patient Center for Education, Safety and Advocacy, Orion Senior Resources, and New York Senior America Cameo Club. Ms. Linda Fostek has spoken on stages across the country, as well as London, India, and Cuba. Linda is producer, host of Get Off the Worry Go Around, broadcast on Bold, Brave TV, YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon. Linda's former corporate career background encompasses 35 years in the grocery and pharmaceutical sales, and now is the CEO entrepreneur. The Crisis Planner is a legacy project started by Linda's dad 30 years ago. He also taught her to focus on solutions from a young age. The Girl Scout motto, be prepared, and working on the trouble desk when living overseas reinforced her ability to anticipate the worst while expecting the best. In short, Linda has been preparing to be the crisis planner her whole life. And now we welcome Linda to the ReneMarie Stroke of Luck show. Welcome.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Judy. You always do wonderful. Just want to thank you so much for all you do for the show. You're the main anchor for this show. So, Linda, thank you so much for joining us today.
It truly is a pleasure.
Oh my gosh, it was really, how did you guys connect?
Well, I got a email from one of the ladies at Senior America Cameo Club, and it was talking about various people and how they could be helpful to the community. And I see that it looks like it was written by Linda. Linda, did you write this?
Yes.
And I said, wow, this is fabulous. I got to get in touch with Linda. And by the way, Linda was, I believe, the 4th runner-up in the recent Ms. New York Senior America pageant.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes.
Congratulations. And the Senior America pageant is really more than just your beauty. It is your intelligence, and it is what you do for the local area and the universe. So that's probably why you were 4th. You would do wonderful.
And I was in it in 2005.
Yes. And that's how Judy got all the connections and tied us up with everybody. And it's been incredible. So Linda, like I said in my intro, what captured me was your connection to your dad. So tell us a little bit about your dad and what he did, in the industry before to kind of navigate you.
It's really interesting. My father was an engineer, and engineers, they don't like to listen to complaints. They want to hear solutions.
Right.
So from the time I was a little kid, if I had a problem with something or I had a complaint about something, he'd say, well, how are you going to fix it? I don't want to hear about it until you tell me how you're going to fix it. And it made me think through a solution to my problem before I would bring the problem to him. And mine wasn't always the perfect solution. And, obviously as a kid, sometimes you want to do things that your parents don't want you to do, and that's
Right.
okay. But then we would negotiate and come up with a solution that was workable for both of us.
Right.
So from a very young age, he taught me to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem.
Wow.
And then,
and you know what, that saves so much time in life.
Oh,
because I mean, we're all going to deal with problems. Challenges are always going to come up, but you have
Exactly.
to be, and so to think of the solution before you bring it to the person, and they go, well, what are we going to do about that? We don't know. Like have spend all that time on worried about it, but you already have it in
Well,
hand.
and it served me that served me very well in corporate America, because
Right.
when I would bring up a problem, I always had thought through a solution. So I became a valuable team member to them, because I was presenting solutions to something I saw as how could we do something better.
Right. Right.
And so that has served me my entire life, which is
Wow.
really interesting. But then, my father, the engineer, he's always thinking of things. He was always inventing things. And I was the one who was by his side, when he was building something, doing chalk lines and plumb bobs. And, we did an entire ceiling project. And, that was really interesting too, because that was at a house that we owned up at Candlewood Lake in Connecticut. The ceiling was like 3 stories high, and it was a cathedral ceiling with no insulation.
Oh my
And so we
God.
decided to insulate the ceiling because it was a year-round house.
Right.
So we go to the store, to Rickles in those days, and
Oh my God, I only remember Rick. I mean,
remember Rickles? Oh my God.
do you remember Alexander's?
Yeah,
Alexander's,
I
that's like
remember
when
that
Rickles.
too.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was one of my favorite stores.
yeah. Rickles or Alexander's?
Yeah. So
Alexander's.
I expected to come home with insulation and things. And my father's picking out all this lumber. And I'm like, what the heck is he doing? And he taught me with that particular project that, we got back to the house and he pulls out this drawing. We had to build a scaffold to get up to the top of the ceiling. We couldn't
Wow.
have done that on ladders.
Right, right,
And
right.
so it was about building a foundation for whatever it was that you were doing. And that also is part of what the crisis planner does. It's a foundational system
Right,
for putting everything together before you need it, so
right,
that
right.
when a crisis happens, you're ready.
Hmm.
So now when my dad turned 70, he saw a lot of his friends losing a spouse.
Hmm.
And what typically happened is the kids would swoop in from all over the country, pick up mom or dad, move them someplace. And 6 months later, the parent is going, this wasn't my plan. And so he said, how can I empower the spouse that's left with information so that they could remain in their home that they love, with their friends and their neighbors that they know and they trust,
Right.
and not have to move in with their kids or not have to move someplace where they start all over again, which is very traumatic. So he wrote a home operations manual. I mean,
Oh,
he literally, he came to my house. He says, what's that? Oh, it's an espresso machine. What does it do? How does it work? And he went through everything, every possible thing, every system in the house, everything that you could do yourself, and when you needed to call in help.
wow.
And but it was written like an engineer. It looked like something an engineer had put together. And he had no idea what to do with it after he finished it. And it also was an organizational system for all your paperwork, but
Right.
it sat on a shelf for 23 years.
Yeah, but probably because, well, that was a start of information for you to navigate through. But when engineers write something, it's like doctors, you don't understand it. Like the
That's
general
right.
person reads 3 lines of it and they go, what is this? But
Yes,
you took it and you changed it into reader friendly information in a different,
exactly.
more loving, upbeat kind of reader book. And that is an incredible thing. And what I love about what you're saying is that you understood the foundation, and that you're working on different things, and it may not, it's a journey on the road to, we mean, where are we going, in life? We're just really trying to make a difference, following the footsteps, path by path, to really make a difference each time. That's why I forget where I read it, that you really need to do the best you can at each, put 150% into each thing you're doing, no matter what it is. Oh, I know what it was. When I was part of I'm part of the Jack Canfield family. I took a few of his classes and I follow him very closely because I like him.
I
And
knew that came from a motivational speaker.
yeah, yeah.
I
And
knew it.
and I remember that this one guy that he was talking about gave up his job because he wanted to do something different and make a difference in the world. And they like he got to be a handyman or something like that. But he did that job with every single ounce of that he could do. He never really talked about like, oh, it's not paying enough, it's not doing. He understood, like you understand, that it'll bring the next step. And I just need to do this the very best I can. So that is an incredible philosophy that you live by.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the 4 agreements from Don Miguel Ruiz is
Right.
always do your best. Because your
Right.
best does change from day to day.
Yes.
And
Yes.
some days your best is not what you would perceive to be your best, but you did the best you could on that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but when it comes to being prepared for life crises, so many people put that off because they know it's an important thing to do, but it's not urgent. Urgent is what gets taken care of. Important gets put on that to-do list and it keeps getting procrastinated on
Yeah.
until it becomes urgent. But once it becomes urgent, once you're in a crisis, then you have fewer options. Certainly, when it comes to protecting your assets or making decisions, suddenly somebody is unconscious in the hospital and you don't know what they want. They haven't written it
Linda,
down.
when I told my parents about a healthcare proxy, they said, oh, they're fine, they don't need it. Okay, my mom passed without a healthcare proxy. However, I kept talking about it to my dad, and then all of a sudden he had a massive stroke, and we had no healthcare proxy, and I had to get an attorney to get to the hospital the morning after his stroke and try to get him to sign it, which thank God we were able to do.
Wow.
But a lot
Wow.
of times you don't even have that option. And that's when people get, then that's when family conflicts happen. One sister doesn't talk to the brother forever because you killed mom, you pulled the plug. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I just want to say something about that too. I wanted to do everything I could to save my dad. He had a massive bleed in the brain, a hemorrhagic stroke. And my husband was supporting me 100%. However, my brother, who lived in Maine, was totally against. He said Dad wouldn't want to live that way, and he tried to get the entire family on his side. But I forged ahead. I got him the help that he needed, and he had to have some surgery, and we had to insert a tube so that he could, a feeding tube. But he lived 3 years and 3 months beyond that and was able to communicate with us. But that was not the same. Like you're saying, you will have family conflicts. I certainly did.
Oh, yeah. And, so by having your plans in place, what it does is 3 things. You avoid those family conflicts. You actually can recover faster and you can control the chaos because, when you're in a crisis, there's enough chaos going on. You
Yeah.
don't need extra crisis of having to go on a scavenger hunt without having a list, because so often you don't know where the paperwork is and where to find it or what even to look for. You don't even know what to look for. Do they have any life insurance policies? Do they have a long-term care policy? I mean, one of the saddest stories I've encountered was a family whose father had Alzheimer's. They spent all of his money for home care as long as they could. Finally, he had to go into a nursing home. He had deteriorated to that point. To go into the nursing home at $15,000 a month.
I know, it's
They had
crazy.
to put him on Medicaid, which meant they signed over the house. And, he passed away a couple months later, and that's when Medicaid makes you sell the house. So now they're cleaning out the house, and that's when they found in the bottom drawer a long-term care policy that not only would have saved the money they spent for his home care,
Oh
but
my
would have
gosh.
saved the house. And they lost everything.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they had no recourse at that point.
Oh my gosh.
So things like that, so there's basically 4 steps in creating a plan. First of all, recognize you need one.
Right. And you know
That
what, Linda, before you even continue, it's not even about aging.
no,
It's about getting a plan and set in place from a young age because because I had my stroke at age 26.
wow,
So what would have happened to me or my family if I didn't recover as I did? Yes, it took me time. I had a 6-month-old at home,
wow.
so my point is, and that's why we do this show and I speak and I do everything because at any specific time you need to be ready.
Because we know that this happens.
Yes, that shit happens. I'm gonna say it again. because
Well, we know
I
it
have because
happens.
I have permission today to say it because it's entitled the title of your book.
But it's absolutely true. And I mean, I've done a lot of speaking around the country and whatever. And one time there was an audible gasp in the audience. I was speaking to a group of women at Women's Prosperity Network in Florida. And I told them that if you have a child that's 18 years old, unmarried, but over the 18 and over, that if something should happen to them, they have a car accident, they have a stroke like you did, or something happens and they're unconscious, as a parent, you have no legal right to
Yeah,
make any
yeah,
medical
yeah,
decisions
yeah,
unless they have the healthcare proxy and the power of attorney.
yeah,
And they have to have the living will, healthcare proxy, and power of attorney in place from the time they're 18.
yeah.
And everybody in the audience went, oh, my daughter's going to Australia, or this one's doing this, or, and it's like, you don't know what you've got till it's gone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And just educate yourself. Education really is the key. And we work so hard on work and and running around and if you organize yourself a little bit, even if you don't have the time, you need to find the time or make the time because through the process it will ease your craziness and busyness. It will kind of like naturally become the way. Of course, life will get out of whack when something happens, but at least you're prepared. We're prepared.
Yes,
We created that
very
foundation.
important to be
Exactly.
prepared.
I mean, I lost my husband 5 years ago,
Oh my
actually
God.
last week, and he'd been disabled for 8 years.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was his caregiver. He was on dialysis the last 3 years, and we were doing home hemodialysis the last year. And, people said, how did you do that? You spend 4 to 5 hours, 5 nights a week doing dialysis with him. And I said, it was a labor of love, but it was the quality time that we spent together during that
Definitely.
year. Um, we talked about everything, and everything was planned. And when, down to the last detail of his funeral was planned. I mean, that's how much planning was in place. And when he finally passed, we were both freed. He was
Right.
freed from his suffering, and I was freed to move on with my life, move forward, because he gave me permission. He told me that I would go on and do great things. So
Right.
I've been pursuing doing great things ever since,
Yeah. Yeah. I
but
got to I got to tell you, my dad was on dialysis too for the last 3 years, and it's not a fun ride.
no,
You
it
know,
is not.
and but I looked at the gift of him being on dialysis because I can't even imagine if he would have passed from a heart attack really quick, right? We
Right.
had the 3 years to really love him and spend time with him and to honor him, and it was only I think it was about a week that we were in La La Land with my father. He was in the hospital back and forth for 3 years, but that last week he when he went in he was himself, and then the next a week later he had another episode, but we needed to pull the plug. We all agreed that we needed to pull the plug because he didn't want to be here anymore. He said he didn't want to be. He was
Well,
tired.
and that
He was
was what
tired.
my husband basically, he had a Stephen Johnson's reaction to a medication they gave him, which
What's a Steven
was,
Johnson's?
oh, it's a horrible skin reaction where the entire epidermis just blisters and peels off
Oh
your
my God.
legs and your
God.
feet. And I mean, it was the most horrific thing I've ever seen, actually. And I mean, I worked in dermatology for 22 years and I never saw anything like that in a dermatologist's office. So I was like, and so he ended up with all kinds of secondary infections from this. And it turned out he had the osteomyelitis, which is a bone infection. And the doctor said, well, we're going to have to amputate your leg. At which point my husband said, I'm done.
Yeah.
But because we'd had so much time to talk about it, it was not a shock to me.
Yeah.
He, you know, and so he stopped dialysis, and 5 days later he went quietly in his sleep. And that's, you
And
know,
that's a gift to go quietly in your sleep. You know, they medicate you, they put you on, you know, so you're not in pain and you
he
just go
wasn't in any
tranquilly.
pain. It was very peaceful.
Mm,
He was home. I
mm,
mean, I was able to get him home from the hospital.
mm.
So, and,
Do
you know,
I have a question for you because I know you're speaking about Mercury before. Do you believe that your husband is still with you?
of course,
Okay.
I mean, well, I mean, he was always very connected beyond this world.
Mm,
And in fact, 10 days before he died, he's in intensive care. And his sister and I are there by his side. And all of a sudden, his eyes rolled back in his head. And he says, I can't hear you. There's a light. I'm walking towards the light.
wow.
There's nobody here. They're not ready for me. I'm coming back. And then he opened his eyes again. And we were all like, oh my God. But he wasn't done yet. He still had work to do. He
Yeah.
still had things he needed to say to people. And those 10 days were a gift then.
Wow. Linda, Judy does this all the time. I don't know how she does it, but she always connects us with the right people. Because when I had my stroke, I had an out of body experience
Mhm.
and I saw the light and God spoke to me. And I said, whatever you want me to do, just put me back down in my body. I had too much work to do. So exactly what you just stated about your husband, you know, was like,
And also about your tool belt
yeah,
and
yes,
how you have to be prepared. Right?
yeah,
We had
yeah.
a lot
I
of
mean,
discussions about that.
You know, the universe does bring people together that at the right time
yeah, yeah.
and the right place. And, you know, I'm so grateful to be here today. You know, and things happen, you know, you're going merrily along and then all of a sudden you run into a wall.
Yeah.
I mean, I was diagnosed with cancer last year and, you
Oh my
know, and I've
gosh.
been under treatment for that. And, you know, but it doesn't stop me.
No, it can't stop you because we have to.
I have too much work to do.
Yeah, we have too much work to do. We have too much work to do.
I
So
just
tell
want
us.
to say, I just want to interrupt for a second and say that if you have something wrong, you should share it with your family, with the person who you're closest with. Do not hide the fact that you're not feeling well, because your attitude is that you don't want them to worry. But what you're going to do is give them 10 times more worry if you don't tell them. In my dad's case, he had a killer headache and he didn't tell me. And I had taken him to the heart doctor, and the heart doctor said he was in the best of health for his age. And 2 weeks later, he had a massive stroke. He had this headache. He didn't even tell the doctor. I took him for a different reason, but don't hide these facts. Share them with the person that can help you. Don't wait till the last minute and then you give them 10 times the worry and you might not make it.
Well, and then the other thing is most of us, especially women, are givers. We give, and we're lousy receivers. And we, you know, if somebody compliments, oh, this old thing, or I got it at a bargain, you know, instead of saying thank you.
Yeah, and the truth is, and this is what this is because I'm the same as you, or all of you. I do the same thing. Somebody brought it to me in a different fashion. They said, "You're really not honoring the person that's giving you gratitude by not acknowledging thank you to them."
Right.
Like it's not about you. It's about them being gracious enough to give you that information and to see that in you. And then on a spiritual level and angelic level, we're opening that door, right? We're opening that door
Well,
to
it's the
bring
yin
in,
and yang, that completes the circle.
right,
Giving
right,
and receiving are
right.
both essential to complete the circle. With only one, you're missing the other.
Right, right.
And
But it's so hard for us as women to stop. I mean, now, I mean, I'm at a blessed point in my life. Both my children are married, they have wonderful families, they've moved out, they have homes. So now I am able to find the 15 minutes in the morning to begin my day with meditation and begin my day in the silence and begin my day speaking, to God and, whoever you believe in. But I start my day off like that. I give myself the permission to do that because it gives me the time. I was a long time ago. I'm writing 2 more books if I ever get them out. Extra Inning, which is about my life and my stroke, and Love Them Through It is another one that I'm working on because I believe everybody should love people through it, no matter what they're going through. But a long time ago, I envisioned myself and probably get to write it one day. It was called In the Silence, because we have to find the time to get into the silence, because there's a whole different, I know you'll believe this, you and Judy and Jim in the studio Long Island, when you go into the silence, it's a whole different discussion. There's a whole different conversation, that's the word, conversation that you have with the spirits or your internal self, whatever you want to call it. But it really does help you to start your day off correctly, so that yeah, you're ready to begin all the challenges that happen. And then the other thing I always try to do is, I'm practicing. Everything's a practice, like, because same thing as in softball, you got to practice, is, trying to not answer so quickly, to really think or process, or so that I'm answering things in the proper manner. So, and that's so important in what we're talking about here today, right? Because was it on this conversation or somebody else that, I think it was you, I don't remember who it was, it's somebody, the doctors called them, was it you, Linda? The doctor had called their family member to tell them, no, it was somebody else. Anyway,
somebody
so
else.
yeah, so they told them that the doctor told their family their father or mother or whatever it wasn't gonna, was very ill. Like that's so
Oh, that happened to me
right.
also.
Then it was you, Judy.
Yeah, because I went to the information in the hospital. I was waiting on the line. I got to the front and I said, could you tell me who my dad just had a massive stroke. Could you tell me who the doctor in charge is? And all of a sudden I got shoved off the line. And he said, do I have any messages? And she said, you just shoved your newest patient's daughter off the line. And when he talked to me, he said, your dad had a massive hemorrhagic stroke. It's a bleed in the brain. He's going to die. It could be today. It could be in 2 or 3 days. And there's absolutely nothing you could do about it. I said, yes, there is something I can do about it. You're fired.
But you know what? And that's another thing, right? We can have a whole conversation about, yes, they're doctors, they're attorneys, they're accountants, there's a whole bunch of people that are in your tool belt, right, Linda?
They're the quote unquote experts.
Yeah, but that's my point.
But
they're
they
not
call
experts.
everything a legal practice.
Yes,
a
yes.
medical practice.
Yes.
It's not an absolute. So you
I
I
want to stick something else in there, because it was a gentleman I worked for in a real estate office, because I was a real estate agent a while ago, which I can't stand that job. But I was with him because his name was Ed Bradley, and he was such a wise, loving individual. And he said they call it a practice because it's only a practice, and you make mistakes in practice.
Right.
And so there's no guarantee what they're saying. So my point is, our point in the whole conversation today is that you need to prepare. You need to find those people that you connect with, and that you respect and are in alignment with your life journey and your life expectancies, and goes about it the same way. And we're not saying that anyone is correct or anyone is wrong. We're just saying that you have to find that type of individual or doctor, attorney, accountant, friend, no matter who it is, that's in
But
alignment.
sometimes you don't know, like this happened suddenly.
Right,
And
right.
he had a heart doctor who recommended this cardiologist, and I didn't like him, and I fired him, and I got somebody I could trust and who would explain everything to me
Right.
and
Right.
what the options were and what we could do about it. Somebody who would be more positive and that I had options. And that's what you got to look for in life. If you're not happy with a doctor or anyone that is in your tool belt, change that person.
Yeah.
Get
Well, you
Well,
gotta-
somebody.
that's being
but you have
empowered
to-
as an advocate. You need to be an advocate for yourself and for your loved ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have the right to ask those questions.
Right. And you have the right to say, let me get a third opinion, let me get a second opinion. And if you don't like the opinion that that doctor or that person is giving you, then you have the right to say no and change courses and go with somebody else. But people, when it's an emergency type of situation and they haven't done their homework or their practice on something, they get in a panic. And people were out of a panic mode. They don't. We handle things in fear, not in.
Well, I
not
wasn't
like
in a panic
meditation.
stage. I just didn't like that he didn't care.
No, but
and
Judy,
I-
you
Well,
handled
a
it
lot of
correctly.
times they look at somebody's age and they say, well, they're going to die.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's, I mean, like my father was 90. He had been absolutely healthy. He was in the hospital. He just didn't feel well. He was dehydrated. He had a few things going on, but nothing major. And, and they're like, oh, well, we want to do all these tests. And, it was like, no. And they wanted to do this, what did they, colonoscopy on him. And I
Mm.
mean, he's 90 years old. What do you,
Right.
first of all,
What are you
if he
looking
did have
for?
if he had polyps or a colon cancer at that point, it's not going to kill him. Okay. All right. So, but they wanted him to do this prep. Well, the next morning he died. They never got to do that. And his heart just stopped and it was time for him to go.
Yeah.
Now, next week, Sunday, my father would have been 100 years old. Been
Wow.
gone 10 years.
Wow.
But he's with me every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel his presence every day and everything that I do. And I know that he's smiling at me and, and even
I feel that way about my parents as well.
Yeah.
exactly. You just know that they're around. And there's something comforting on that, because right now I feel I'm an orphan. Oh, I'm an orphan.
You're not. If you're part of our family now, so
I know.
Oh, and our family is so large that we might have to use Madison Square Garden to meet in one of these days.
That's what we were saying.
But
'Cause
you're so right. During a crisis, people do not necessarily make the right decisions.
No.
I mean,
no.
they said there's a statistic that 70% of the people run toward the gunfire when they hear gunfire instead of away from it.
Yeah.
There, if you remember the movie The Poseidon Adventure, where the chaplain led everybody the wrong direction, the ship is upside down. He was leading everybody what used to be on top, which is now on the bottom. So people make bad decisions in a crisis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why if you have the plans in place, you know exactly what your loved one would want, what you need to do next. It just takes all of that stress away from you so that you can actually grieve and heal.
Yeah. So Linda, give our audience like the steps in preparing. Like, like if I wanted to, okay, I'm watching the show. Okay, I'm gonna do it. What should they do first? And
Well,
is some of this guidance in any of your books?
It's all of my books kind of go through it in one way or the other. So the first thing is know you need the plan. the second thing is figure out what you already have. Now, we have all just gone through putting our taxes together. So you got a lot of statements, you got a lot of things. Instead of just sticking them in a, in a random file, put that in a secure place where everything is together. Then go through and get one of my checklists. Now, this is one of the checklists that you can get for free on my website. It's the Crisis Planner Roadmap. And you go to lindafostek.com and you'll get that free, and you'll get checklists. This book, the Now What book, has, it's fill in the blanks, basically.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it goes through 96 different things that you should look for.
Wow.
Then it talks about, putting it all together in one place. So once you fill in all those blanks, then you're going to organize it in one place. I like to say, put it in a grab and go box, because, there's different types of crises. There's health crises, but there's also natural disaster crises, which you might have to evacuate quickly, and you don't want to be ending up in the shelter with a teddy and your phone charger.
Right, right,
That might be a good thing for some people, but I don't think it would work too much for me. But, so it tells you all the different things that you need to put together. And then this also goes through what to do when somebody passes away, the order to do it. And then it also tells you a little bit about the healing process. And, so it's a kind of a before, upon, and after.
I have a question for you, Linda, because I would love to get that book.
Yeah.
However, it's difficult for me to write. So is there a place that, and maybe this is something you could think about creating, an online purchase, and a PDF won't work because
no, because you can't fill in the
PDFs.
blanks.
But if you do something on the website where they could purchase to get on, that would be incredible for me, because it's simple for me in the morning, just to enter everything in. But for me to sit there and write, it would take me years. It would take me years.
Yeah, because I mean, I that is something that is in my plans. I haven't done it yet, but there's so many things going on.
I know. But I think you'd be reaching a wider audience.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for those of us that have had strokes and have disabilities, it would just, because part of the, not me, but part of the process also with patients is they want to feel useful. They want to feel like they can do it themselves. So if you give them that tool to be able to do it themselves, that would be an incredible, because now I think we're preaching to the large audience, right? We're
right.
And they're like, oh yeah, we'll get to that, and nobody does it. But that's a great idea. That's a great gift.
The final step, which Judy touched on, is communication. Telling your family where to find the information, and there's certain things they need to know up front. They need to know whether you have a long-term care policy. They need to know whether you have a living will and who's the healthcare proxy. Right. And because a power of attorney, while that's important, it dies with you. So a lot of people have a power of attorney on file with their bank, but if you die, that's gone. That doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
So, you talk to any banker, they'll tell you 2 or 3 times a week, they have somebody in tears in their office crying because how am I going to bury mom? I don't have the money and I need to access your account.
If you give them power of attorney, you need a long-term proxy to finish it out.
There is a form that it has different names in different states.
Right,
so
right,
I'm not going to, but there's a form you can fill out that says, upon my death, that somebody has authority to, because maybe you don't want them to have the authority while you're alive, but if you die, then they can have the access to the account.
I want to add something there. When I married my husband, Andrew, about a couple of months down the road, I said, we should buy cemetery plots. And he looked at me and he said, Why? Is one of us going to die soon? And I said, no. I said, my parents bought cemetery plots early in their marriage. And the reason for that was the price continually goes up. And then down the road, 25 years or so, I said, we should make final arrangements. And we did. We made every one of them. So everything's taken care of.
Wow.
And it's not a bad idea. It
It's
really
not a
isn't.
bad idea, because then nobody has to make those decisions in the
And
funeral
that and
parlor.
you and they're grieving, and you don't have to do this, and it's all prepared. And you do it with someone who you have a relationship with. If there's a funeral home and you know the owners of that home and you have a relationship with them, like we do through Rotary,
Right.
that's the way we went.
And
Good.
and it's sort of like set it and forget it. You don't even have to think about it anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
that's why I call my show Get Off the Worry Go Round.
Yeah.
Because once you have the plans in place, you can stop worrying about things that could happen.
Mm.
You know,
And who do you like? How can our audience find your show, and when is it, and can they rewind it? Are they able
well,
to?
it's
watch it?
definitely they can access it on YouTube, at any time, but it's a live broadcast Tuesday nights at 9 p.m.
Oh, good.
And it's
Oh.
on Bold Brave TV. It's on, YouTube and Amazon and Spotify, a bunch of different
And do you use the
platforms.
service to go stream through, or do you do it
Well,
yourself?
Bold
or
Brave TV is the company that actually
streams it.
streams it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then they can look at past episodes, and you never know what I'm going to be talking about. I
No.
mean, it's like every week it's a different topic,
Right. Right.
which is fun. It's
That's
like,
good.
I've been doing this for 3 years and I love it.
Yeah. It's almost like a first of all, we've been doing this for 7 or 8 years, Judy.
No,
right?
it's 8 years now,
Wow.
Renee.
And-
8 years. We're going
and-
into our 8th annual telethon,
And-
October
Oh my
2nd.
gosh. And we have met some of the most incredible people like yourself to really, it's such this platform is just a blessing to be able to talk to people and to hear
And
their
we're
thoughts
talking
on
to
things.
people all over the world,
Yeah.
Australia, Oregon, California, Africa, everywhere.
It's so amazing. I mean, the opportunities to be heard
Yeah.
beyond our little community. It's like, if you think about it, in my parents' generation, when they grew up, they relied on radio, that was the, as live as they got,
Right.
And TV was a big achievement if you got a TV set.
Oh, well, and
Yeah.
then when I was born, then the first TVs came out in the early 50s. And I mean, I could still remember my neighbor across the street got the first color TV in the neighborhood. And every Sunday night for Wonderful World of Color and Bonanza, she had 30 kids in her living room sitting on the
Wow.
floor watching those two shows.
Oh my
I
God.
Because
remember
it was the
walking
only
down the
color
street.
TV in the whole neighborhood.
I remember walking down the street and saying, that one has a TV and this one has a TV. When are we getting a TV?
That's incredible. Linda, I want to talk about some of your other books because when I was looking on Amazon and researching, and I see it, Judy has in the press, the 5-book planning series, Password Passport. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, what is in the series?
Okay, the series actually is part of the home system, which is home operation manual and emergency system. So,
Oh,
home.
that's connected to your father.
And that is it's a watertight box with file folders in it, and it comes with all kinds of tools to help you know your house. All right.
Right.
So there's water leak detectors. There's labels for your gas and water shutoff. There's labels for your circuit breakers. There's, all kinds of tools in there. And I mean, I can tell you, we had the shutdown on March 16th was the shutdown for the pandemic, right? So I hadn't been doing much cooking since my husband passed away. But
Right.
March 17th was St. Patty's Day. And I said, okay, I'm all by myself. I got the world's smallest corned beef, and I decided to make corned beef and cabbage and potatoes, you know. So I had 3 burners going on my stove. I mean, I don't think I had used the stove top, and I can't tell you how long. And I go to turn the one burner off and it won't go off. It's a gas stove. I can't turn the gas
Oh,
off.
no.
Usually when they fail, it fails in the off position. Well, this
Right,
failed
right.
in the open position.
Oh, my God.
Now everything's shut down. I can't call anybody. There's nobody going to come and help me. And I'm like, okay, well, I have my gas shutoffs labeled. And I went down the basement. I found the one for the stove and I turned it off and the gas went off. And I was like, okay, when I can finally get a repairman in here, I'll be fine. I had a little 1 burner induction cooktop that I used, and I was fine through the whole, you know, for almost a year before I got it fixed.
You know, it would be wonderful to have somebody, to pay somebody to come in and to label all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because being a single woman, I'm just saying, if
But you need to know where those things
no,
are.
I know, I know, but
So the fact
but if
that
there's, but if I like, I totally get what you're saying, but but to have it, because what if there's different valves? Like in my
Yeah.
in my boiler room, I have the 2 water heaters, and I
Right.
have my furnace,
right,
and you know, and there's different valves. So if somebody could, so to make sure that I'm turning the wrong valve, well, yes, it's important to have that book there, you know, to
Right.
see what you need to do, but then to have it already labeled in the house, like your electrical panel, right? Your electrical panel
right,
should be labeled with everything
right. You
on
get
it.
you get those labels with the kit too.
Right, right. So I'm just saying, so that would be incredible to, or you know, you buy your series, but then someone comes in to help you, you know, organize everything in your house. I think it'd be
Right.
a great business for people.
Andrew's already done that.
Andrew's the best.
You know, I mean, it's like during the pandemic. Well, I mean, I had a water leak in my basement. I knew how to turn my water off. I mean, you know, all those things that, you know, as a woman alone, you know, you have to
Very
know
important.
how to do things, and you know, and not panic. Okay, I walked down into my office and my carpeting was a little squishy. I was like, oh, this isn't good. And then I said, okay, where's the leak coming from? And it was coming from my main water line. So I had to turn off all the water in the house. Well, before I did that, I filled some buckets with water
Yeah.
in so I could flush the toilets.
Yeah.
You know, because otherwise you can't flush your toilet.
Oh my
You
God.
get one, you get 2 flushes basically.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
So
So
it was really quite fun, you know, but it's all about empowering you with the
yeah,
knowledge of what to do when something goes wrong and how to deal with it. And when you know what to do, it's not something you're going to panic about.
right, right.
You know, I have these the water leak detectors set off a 90 decibel alarm that even a tiny little amount of water will set off this alarm. And I was like, how do these things work? Right. So I take the thing apart and I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. It's, you remember those sponges that you buy that are like little skinny sponges, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get them wet and they go like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Well, inside there is one of those little round sponges.
Right, right.
And when they get wet, they complete the circuit, and that's what sends off the alarm.
Wow.
I
Now,
was like, oh, how brilliant is that? But you know, I understand all that stuff because I worked with my dad so much. I understand how things work.
right.
So, you know, most people don't even have, you know, wouldn't even have a clue why does that work or how does that work?
I know, it's incredible. Well, we're over our hour, and we are so honored to have had the opportunity to meet you and to connect with you. And now you're part of our family, and Judy will book you again so that we can continue this conversation, because it really is only a conversation, you know, and
It
through the
is.
conversation, people get to hear and like, think of ideas and think of ways, and and so it's incredible the work you're doing, and I love your life philosophy and how you're on a journey and you're building your bridge. You built the foundation and you're growing and building your empire, and I don't mean empire in financial terms. I mean empire, and you built this wonderful foundation, and we all create a wonderful empire, a wonderful life, which is really a blessing.
Well, and it's like you touch people one person at a time,
Yeah.
and you make a difference one person at a time.
And you're making a big difference.
And that is, if you can help somebody get through some of the most difficult moments of their life because you help them be prepared for it, isn't that's so special?
Yeah.
So, I mean, every day I get to do something I love, and I know that I'm choosing to do the things I do because I get to choose them.
Right.
When you work in corporate, you don't get too many choices. You do what they tell you to do, and that's it, But, I've been retired now, 10 and a half years already.
Wow.
But it's like, I choose to do the things that I know are going to make a difference, not only for myself, but for other people.
Yeah.
And life is wonderful. I mean, it really is. And, I have fun and joy and happiness and positive attitude every single day.
Yeah.
And some days it's a little harder than others to keep that positive attitude, I will say.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you, first of all, I want to ask you to be our guest at the telethon on October 2nd. And I also want to ask you if you're interested in being a speaker at any community organizations in the area.
Oh, yes, I definitely speak. We're, a lot of different places. The telethon, I'm actually going to be in Acapulco.
Well, we could do a video.
So I would have to pre-record it. I'm actually going to be with my business coach and mentor for 3 weeks in Acapulco at his villa. So it's going to be very fun.
Linda, I have some Rotary clubs that I'd like you to, I'm going to talk to them about you.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think, when Renee was talking about the need to be quiet, that silence, that's when the creativity hits me.
Mm-hmm.
And I start thinking about, okay, how can I make the world better for other people? And that's where the science labs kind of came out of that, which is a learning program for young children, 4 to 7 years old. And it's really turning complainers into problem solvers, because we need more problem solvers in the world.
Wow. I think that should be the title of our next show, Judy. You should book Linda again, and we should really talk about in the silence,
Pardon me? Say that again.
In the silence, like what you find in the silence, and that whole conversation that you have with yourself in the silence, and we could talk about, like, I know that some schools, that I've read and I've seen on TV programs like 2020 or whatever, have started to have children meditate and go into that silent space, and their success rate has been tremendous, with their lives.
I think that they call it mindfulness, because
yes,
somehow
mindfulness.
Meditation has a religious connotation, which I don't think it does, but they call it mindfulness.
So we could do that, and we'll find other, maybe we'll look for other people to join the conversation for mindfulness. Steve would be a great one. The gentleman from New Jersey, he would be a great for that. But I think that's a really great conversation, because we got to set the foundation for life, right? Just set the foundation, like Linda said, about us being able to work on everything and set up things up. But the foundation and the mindfulness is really an important key for us all. Like I, try to get up in the morning and start my day with mindfulness, but I'm blessed to be at the point in my life to be able to do that. It probably would have been an easier journey if I would have started this many years ago and listened to my information to find that 15 or 10 or 15 minutes during the day. So, through life, you learn how to educate people and, what you would have wanted to do. And the one thing I want to share, because this is really important and I want to tie into what Linda said and Judy says is don't let anybody steal your joy. Don't let anybody steal your joy. No matter what's going on in your life. Yes, things are going to happen. Yes, it's going to be difficult. Yes, you're going to find challenges. You're going to have difficulties, but you got to choose joy. You got to choose joy. Joy is by choice, not by accident, not by anything. So
choose a positive action.
Yeah.
Positive
In fact,
attitude.
my article that I wrote for Positive Tribe in May was all about finding joy in little things.
Yeah.
And, being grateful for those little things that you see along the road. And, I talk about driving on the parkway and, how beautiful it was to watch the flowers blooming and you see the little ducklings and you see the, all these things. And, people don't see these things. They drive past it, that they're oblivious.
They're in a hurry. Where are they going? Where are you going in life if you're in a hurry? I mean, yeah, we do have to, do things quickly, but don't miss the path, the journey. So
Right.
I know we have to close out because poor Jim is like, I think we're only 10 minutes over, Jim. That's good.
I know, it's so easy to talk. We're just so shy.
Yes. So
Yes.
you know what? It's great that we have a continuing conversation, and we're gonna welcome Linda back. Judy's doing an excellent job, and that's gonna be the topic for our next show is in the silence, so that we could continue to build that foundation for everybody. Linda, it's such a joy. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to meet you, Judy. You always do a wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Jim, thank you. He's in the back studio in Long Island. Thank you so much, Jim. Don't forget, Tuesday, Jim and I are going to be streaming our talent show. So we're so excited about that.
Wait, Thursday, isn't it Thursday?
Thursday. What'd I say?
Tuesday.
Oh, Thursday. What can I tell you? I'm a little. That's why I need people behind me. I need that tool belt around me, so that people could correct me when I make mistakes, and I make a lot of mistakes. So.
Oh, no, you don't.
Yes, I do. That's okay. That doesn't matter. Anyway, we always blow our kisses. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today was really a great conversation, just like all our shows. I mean, the file of shows that we have on our website and YouTube channel are really impressive. And the kudos goes to Judy, most of it, because
Thank you.
It's really a library of information and resources that people can help themselves, if they need 24/7. So
And we're celebrating our 8th year.
Yay! Woo! Yeah, in April, I think we started. In April. I don't really remember. Anyway, we always blow our kisses. And here we go on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day. See you later.
God bless you all.
Mi amor, yo no entiendo por qué tú más que nadie sabes qué pasó en mi vida. Yo no sé qué tú piensas, yo no sé lo que haré, yo no sé lo que estoy perdiendo, yo no sé lo que va a pasar. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti, no me puedes oír llorar. El día que caminaste por la puerta, todas las memorias llorar.